we thought the next point will be a panel discussion. And you might know this as well, whether you're working in a corporate or in a startup, there is a lot of potential for innovation in the collaboration between corporates and startups. But unfortunately, this is not seen or recognized everywhere nowadays. And there are many, many barriers to overcome before the potential of innovation can be unlocked. And this is exactly the topic of our next panel discussion. David Granite will be back. You already know him as a moderator from the Metaverse interview. And his guests are Jochen Bella Ada. He is leading the IBM iX. This is the experience agency of IBM in Switzerland. Christoph Falk, head of startup coaching of Innosuisse. And Adam Reichmann, head of commercial at Generali Switzerland. Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Two bottles.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having us today. So we are going to discuss the big challenges of how collaborating together between big corporations and startups. And today, let me get my notes straight. I apologize for this. Just give me 1 second, bear with me. Did I get it? Nope. Okay, no worries. I'll be totally honest with you guys. I erased my notes 1 second before getting on stage. So just give me 3 seconds, bear with me, and I will get my notes back up. All right, I need your help, guys. Anyone? You got it?
Yeah, you get it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I apologize for this. This is totally my fault. So, my name is David Granite. I'm creative technologist for Dorier and MCI, and I will be your host today. Together with me, we'll have, it's not the right one, but, bro, this is insane. All right, well, we'll just improvise. So today I have with me Jochen Bella Ada, leader of IBM iX agency here in Switzerland and mentor for startups. Please make some noise.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dan, thank you very much. And we have also Adam Reichmann, who is the head of commercial of Generali. Please, some noise. And Christoph Falk, who is the head of startup coaching for Innosuisse. So, guys, we have here a whole challenge about how big corporations collaborate with startups. In your experience, Jochen, how does big companies such as IBM iX manage to foster the very much agility, I would say, mindset of startups, and how do you incorporate this in your day-to-day business?
Yeah, so I can tell you a bit like what startups can be for a corporate or an agency, if you like. So in my perspective, a startup can be, in the ideal world, be something like a strong espresso, like a really good cup of coffee for a corporate. So wakes you up, makes you wonder, you get interested again, you say like, oh, that's cool stuff. Sometimes you panic a bit because you're like, well, they are so far ahead in that topic and we are so far behind or we even haven't heard about it. So that's all good stuff a corporate can get from a startup. And I think like the actual strategic value is that, and that's to your point of like, how do you manage it? Like, the startup is a testing ground for a corporate, if you do it right, of course, right? And it's a testing ground with a focus, and this focus work, that's so important, because in a corporate, and Adam, you tell me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
But you have lots of dependencies, you have all the planning, you have the complexity, and then things really go somewhere, or like just, you know, they disappear in the structure. And with the collaboration with a startup, you can really have the focus, and you can have fresh energy, fresh perspectives, you have speed, lots of energy, and that's all good stuff. So that's really like this wake-up coffee for the corporate.
Incredible. And please, Adam, tell us how, because in the insurance business, very regulated, innovation is crucial, but risk is also has to be mitigated. How do you incorporate the new trends, new technologies, and startups that might appear as a risk, but also as opportunities?
I mean, the whole insurance business is really, really regulated, but at the end, we need help. So we need assistance in so many different things. Is it help for our employees? Is it a chatbot? Is it something technological basis? Is it something that we actually can get for our customers? So we're really, I really want to say, like, take as an example, a big corporate is always like old successful parents. They know what they did for the last 20 to 30 years. They are heavily successful in it. They're rich. But they're not on point with the new technology that we have, the possibilities that we actually have to go and have the next steps. So when we saw, just from the technology perspective, what we had, such of innovations in the last 20 to 30 years, sometimes I go to the office and I'm thinking I'm still stuck because I have the same old things that I have in here. So we need the support actually from the startups. We need this new thinking of ways, the new solutions of ways, and the accessibility to actually have a possibility to turn this in our old little garage to make us further and go a long way. So startups are helping us actually.
Amazing. So Christoph, as a representative of this startup ecosystem, you coach a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm pretty sure that most of them really dream of being able to sell a big package to a corporate and have this as a kickoff starter. And I'm pretty sure that you get a lot of disillusions, and you have to pick up those entrepreneurs and show them the way and help them foster. Innosuisse has this DNA of creating private-public collaboration. How do you train those entrepreneurs, and how do you prepare them for the big Shark Tank?
Yeah, we have so we have actually different instruments for that. But what we basically do is, so first of all, you have to, like, the first hurdle is obviously how to approach them, right? How to approach them. Meaning, what is the content, and also who do you approach, right? This is also very different. It depends on your product, on the industry. Sometimes it's the head of IT, whatever. Sometimes it's the head of manufacturing. Sometimes, or almost all the times, it's definitely one person that has decision power, right? So the closer to the C-level, the better. So you have to convince them. So so first of all, we help them, to make sure that they speak the right language, and that they tackle the right person to get in there. Another hurdle is when you start a collaboration with a corporate. We all know startups are typically small. A couple of founders, everybody does everything. There is no, the specialist for this or specialist for that. On the other hand, you have the corporate, typically. You have all those experts in their specific fields, in a specific role. So there is kind of a disbalance, right, between those two parties. And in order to make sure, that when they collaborate, that you have, that everything is set well, meaning talking about IP, talking about the commercial side, also talking about, you have mentioned it, Jochen, kind of understanding the culture, that it takes time, decision loops are longer, right, than a startup, so they have the patience. So this kind of things, we can help there with technical expertise when it comes to IP, for example, right, when it comes to whatever term sheets, when they invest or whatever. So we help with all those strategic things, with the technical things, but also with the strategic overall, with considerations you have to make overall when it comes to collaborate with a corporate. That starts, who actually should you approach, right? It starts already there. Which one is the right corporate? Which one is the corporate that allows you to scale your product, and so on and so forth. So it's a whole range of services. It's more coaching. It's more helping develop the business, and all that is included there. But we also have a little bit of funding. So sometimes startups also need, they are small. The corporate is big. So, but kind of to try to to get to the same level, we also help with a little bit of funding so that they have a little bit of breadth and strength. So these are typically the things we can help with. Yeah.
So with the funding, you also mitigate a little bit the risk of the corporation and help foster relationship between the entrepreneur and the big corporate and reduce the risk, which is a great way to accelerate innovation in our country. I heard the two big corporates here, and I can sense that there is a gap of culture and philosophy between the very visionary startup that wants to change everything and disrupt everything, and the continuity of business with a long-term vision and a long-term objective. And sometimes it's hard to reconcile. How do you break this barrier internally? How do you make your big corporation understand the importance of onboarding disruptive technology, new ideas, and the capability of shifting a big boat and maybe changing a little bit the cap? What are the big barriers here?
I mean, I think it's really every corporate and every startup has to do it their way. But it's an awareness thing, so you really need to know, and that's not from me. A startup founder once said to me, like, corporates and startups, they have two different dancing styles. And I really like that one. Because, like, if you imagine startup dancing is like, something like that. I'm not good at dancing. And then imagine the corporate, right? It's really like classic, formal, and that's a perfect visualization, because that's how corporates are. They have their processes to do all the planning, they have their funding, approvals, and whatnot, hierarchies. And that's really a thing. And often enough, corporates don't understand their structure themselves and their processes and whatnot. And so then to really explain that or establish something which works between a startup and a corporate, it's a journey, to call it nicely. You were talking about barriers, right? So I think risk aversion is another one, and you're not risk averse, generally.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely, super. So that's very good, because not from me either. Someone said, corporates believe that risk is a disease, and I believe that then startups, they say something like, oh, come on, risk, give me a hug, and then bring these two people in these two cultures together in a room. That's a challenge often, and you really need to keep that openness, and sometimes you need a bit of humor. And you need as well honesty, so you need to say, hey, okay, I can't deal with that, so you need to find this common ground and define it together. And and then it can really work.
100%. And I just want to take 2 points of view, guys. In addition what you said, I just want to make a little bit of a wake-up call here, especially for the startups that are here, because it's so easy to actually know a big corporate. You can go into ChatGPT and just ask them, what are the line of businesses for an insurance? What are the line of businesses for a technology group? And then just go ahead, and if you have really this diamond product and stuff like that, you can pitch it. You can pitch it to me, and maybe I find it really, really interesting and stuff like that, but at the end, you really want to know where you can help us. And at the same time, as you said, we have so many lines of business. Then we have processes and everything else. If you have an easy example, a chatbot, go and look up how our line of business is. Okay, then you see, oh, maybe it's really, really good to have a chatbot for our claims structures. Or maybe it's really, really good to actually implement it in some ways that actually the employees can work with it. But if you just take these little tips and actually talk to the guys that you're really want to engage with each other, they will hear so much more. Because I really have to be honest, I get so many LinkedIn mails and stuff like that. Most of the time, even if you have like a really, really good presentation and stuff like that, there are like crucial questions that are not explained. Like, how does it help my business? Where can I actually improve my business with your system, service, or whatever? So literally talk to the guys, and sometimes, as you said, talk yourself up. If you talk with someone and maybe you come to me and you have something for employee health, I'm definitely not the guy for that, but I absolutely know who's the person for it. Start asking questions, go in there, and everybody says, yeah, it's so easy and everybody does it. I can tell you 100%, 99 of all the people really don't do that. They don't ask the right question. They don't ask, where can I actually make an improvement? Where or who is actually in charge to get in there? Because we all have like our little honeypots with money to go into your risk-averse thing, and we're absolutely willing to take risks. But at the end, we still have to look where we're going to put our money. So it's really, really important. Start asking this question. Ask yourself up. Know your business and 100% know your customer, and in this time, know your big corporate. Then it makes so much easier to actually have a really good or a healthy conversation and to have the conversation with all of it.
So Christoph, we hear this, and for you hearing this, so it's probably something that you witness a lot, not asking the right questions. What are the most common hurdles startups face, and how does Innosuisse help overcome those type of challenges? Like, for instance, not asking the right questions.
Yeah, I think there are many hurdles, right? But one central one is definitely one that you mentioned now, and I mean, this challenge, that's the core challenge of every startup, right? They start, they develop something, but in the end, yeah, I mean, it's not a secret. You have to build something that brings value to someone else who is then also ready to actually pay for it. And ideally, they fall in love with it, and they cannot be without it anymore. And and then you have your initiator of your recurring revenue. So what we face as a challenge is, especially as Innosuisse, as we promote science-based innovation, so our founders are typically tech people, more tech people. They're very in love with their solution, and they would, if they could, they would forever develop their technology, their solution, but actually never develop the business on the side, right? So what we definitely have to teach them is, I mean, it's exactly what you mentioned, right? It's really to make sure that they develop this in a lean way, that they go early out. Of course, they have to make sure that IP and things are regulated. But if that's clear, let's say, really that they go out soon, that they talk to the customers, potential customers, to make sure that they really build what they need, and they have to talk with them. And that is typically what they do at the beginning, right? They go to all those, like similar like today, you have a pitch. So the audience is very diverse. So you cannot kind of target this one customer. Of course, a good storyteller will always ask you, think about the audience, who is the audience, and kind of adapt your pitch to this audience. But in the end, it's more generic. You talk more about your solution, right? How it is built, what's the magic behind something like that, right? But when you go to corporates, yes, in the end, it's all about business, right? It's about making their processes, for example, faster, less money they have to spend, it's more efficient, whatever it might be, but you have to talk their language and you have to talk in these terms, meaning you really have to show them, what is in there for me as a corporate. And that is definitely one of the main challenges, because it sounds like an easy one, but it's actually, it's also a mindset thing, right? So this is something that evolves over time. And I would say this is really, beside like kind of the hurdles, the things I mentioned before, like this sometimes disbalance or whatever. This is definitely one of the biggest ones.
So with these type of, we've seen that it's hard to create the first connection, that sometimes the first impression is just by not really positive because they're not focusing on the business outcome, not asking the right questions. Let's turn into something maybe positive. Maybe Adam, there is some examples of successful collaboration Generali did with startups that you could share with us tonight?
Yes, absolutely. We also have like a big cooperation right now with Flot. At the other side, we from the Generali, we have a whole ecosystem for the whole startup. We have the House of Intertech, who actually also have like a workshop in here. And just take my first words. We need you guys, especially the young startups with the new ideas and everything. Just pitch it right and pitch it with honesty. And that's like goes in that what you're saying. So we just literally want to see how can we get better with your solution. So that's one of the biggest things for us.
Amazing. And Jochen, with IBM iX, or as a mentor for coaches, can you share with us one success story or some kind of
Success stories is always difficult because it's is that under NDA and can I remember? But like what might be interesting is really like that you have this, like how do you do it in general? Like what models do you have, or kind of what mode of collaboration do you have?
Do you have a model?
I think we have, now don't tell anyone at IBM, so I think we have many models. But like, and that's okay, right? So you have different countries, you have different working styles, even within a big corporate. I mean, there are some classics, right? So one is this lab approach, and honestly, I still feel that's kind of the best one. So if you create a safe zone, if you really create a space where you say, like what I said before, this like something with a focus, and everybody more or less knows what they are doing, or at least they have decided together, and that goes to what you just said, oh, this is what we want to achieve as of now, before the pivot. But you know, that this is really clear, and one says, okay, this is our playground, and here we are acting now, and we do this with all the speed and energy we want to have. So this lab approach, where the startup has access to resources from the corporate, and then the corporate has what I just said, the energy and the fresh ideas and a bit access to technology as well. There then you all know this, or you already heard it from Innosuisse maybe. Like then there's this venture programs. I think that's a good thing as well when it comes back with funding, backed with real engagement from the corporate. So you have this mentor involvement, and that helps growing together. But in the end, and maybe that goes back to my initial point, like many models that happens, and it's okay, it's important that you have a model, that you really, as a corporate, think about how do I want to collaborate with startups. And that's then not a personal thing of one manager or someone somewhere, or the little startup team you might have somewhere, but this is really a known thing up the ranks, and it's communicated, and it's specific, and the specific is important as well. So I've seen in the past, maybe like last 10 years, 15 years, there was a lot of, corporate accelerators and whatnot. And I often felt like somebody, must have been a consultant, came in and said like, oh, look, this is how you do it. And there was no reflection in the corporate, like, is this really us, or is this how we want to do it? And so having a model, but having a model which really suits, to start with the corporate, I think that's the key.
There's an example of a big corporate that established a model that seems from here pretty successful. It's LVMH with their incubator in Station F, with a real desire to actually foster long-term relationship and help them grow and see how this relationship leads. And sometimes they really take a risk and they embark really tiny seed little ideas, and maybe 5, 6, 7 years later, this little idea becomes something useful for the group. Christoph, is this something that would work with institutions, or is it really up to private corporate to actually create their own little pépinière, as we say in French?
We also do have this kind of stuff, but I think the one with the biggest impact is definitely this collaboration with the corporates. So meaning that actually the corporate has this vessel, and it might be accelerator program at the beginning. Later on, obviously, CVC, right, is super interesting for startups, like this corporate VC money, and ideally big money, right, so that the startups can really grow. I think because in the end, there is the business, right? That is where the business in the end will happen, right? That is where the sustainable business can, you know, can start. So we do also have this stuff, right? We do also have trainings and so on, and you can, you know, this ideation stuff, and later on we help them also with, again, with funding. But in the end, like this collaboration is I think, personally, I think this is an ideal environment actually to really build a company and build a product and a business that is really sustainable, because they cannot just profit from infrastructure, but they maybe can also profit from the supply chain, right? Because these corporates, they have distributors, they have manufacturers, and they can also profit from, and that is maybe the most important one, from this industry knowledge that these corporates have. So having a vessel in, or having this collaboration or this vessel in the corporate, or having this pilot project, let's say, overall, between a startup and a corporate, that's the most fruitful one, I would say. And I would definitely encourage everybody, because that's breaking barriers, right? Today that's the topic. I would definitely encourage everybody, you know, to try to also, you know, to look at those collaborations, to see whether there is even an SME. They are, sometimes we forget them because many of them are also champions in their corresponding niche. You know, try to collaborate with them and profit from their knowledge, from their network, and actually in the end develop something that really matters, that really brings those companies and corporates, that brings them a real value.
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to communication, right? Startups need to better communicate what they bring as values. Corporate need to better communicate the opportunities and the opening doors that they have. And maybe the institutions need to better communicate on how they can help mitigate the risk or accelerate new ideas. So I come from the communication field. So if you need communication, please come to me. I will be very happy to help you fluidify it. So breaking barriers, it's all about the communication and the future. And I'm thinking, I'm coming from a big corporate, right? MCI Group is a very big corporate, very focused on acquisition and not very much into fostering ideas that turned into a company. We prefer acquiring working companies and scaling that way. My department is a creative tech department, and we're a little bit working like a startup in the corporate. And I've been experiencing a lot of, on one hand, a lot of traction and admiration, and they're trying to put and show what we do. But on the other hand, whenever I ask for investment, whenever I ask for taking part into a startup, then I get the corporate wall coming at me with the lawyers, with the corporate HQ, and it's really complicated. So how, and I'm talking to the corporate guys, how do you encourage also your talents, people transversally that can actually bring value to the company, and how easy it is for them to bring it all the way up and actually make something happen out of these opportunities that can sometimes come from the bottom or from the top or from the sides. It can come from anywhere. So how do you manage this?
Yeah, just to go back to the topic, breaking barriers, one of the things that is most important is if you're like in an early stage or like literally like finding yourself, be honest to yourself and go to the accelerator, go to our house of InsurTech and everything else. On the other hand, if you literally have your product, your service, everything else, go directly to the big corporates, because then you're ready. It's all about a little bit honesty and like showing yourself where are you staying. If you have a fully developed product or service, please go directly to the corporates, pitch it, go in there, talk yourself up, everything. On the other hand, there's like so many opportunities, and especially as you said, even in the SME sector, we're in Switzerland. We have 99.12% of SMEs that are actually in the whole corporate world. There's like so many opportunities to actually go in there. So breaking the barriers is also be honest to yourself, go there where you want and actually where you feel safe, and actually really think you can have an improvement. Because you can have like this diamond product, but at the end, you don't know where to go with this product. So really search for what you actually want and then go in there. And the other topic that we had, yes, it's really, really the matter. Money rules the world. And that's the reason why we have such accelerators. Because for me, my goals are in the next 1 to 3 years. It's almost impossible to have like such an impact with like a really, really early startup. So that's the reason why I'm saying, hey, go to the accelerator, grow with them, have the possibility to actually manage your network and everything else, and then literally go in there and go talk to the big guys. It's just a lot of money, but they're not really big, but at the end, it's just literally be honest to yourself, go in there where you actually want it, and look at your product, be honest to yourself, and you 100% will find your place.
Totally like it. Totally agree.
Yeah, so it's important for startup to understand the business of the corporate and to understand how it works and to come with an answer and not come and raise more questions, right?
Yeah, and know your product self. I had like 1 or 2 conversations where I actually saw there's like so much more potential in this product or in this service, but they really didn't know that they actually have it, and we need it because they didn't know which kind of business unit, which kind of line of business we actually go into. So sometimes it's even the opposite. We actually see something in a startup that they don't see each else. So that's the reason why I say, be honest to yourself and know your own product, because you have a huge potential. And everybody here is like having such great ideas, and you have absolutely the right environment here in Switzerland.
Thank you, the panel. I think we have time for one question, maybe. Do we have questions that we can see from the audience? If we have no question, there we do. How do you monitor the startup ecosystem? How do you reach out to the startups? So,
Thank you, Adam. You're best
For me?
Adam again.
Okay, so with the accelerator, we have actually people who literally go in there and search for startups. We reach out to our employees that are actually like looking around at events like this, on the other hand, but also like when we hear something, because like the whole networking is really, really a big part of it. But to be really, really honest, don't wait until a big corporate comes to you. Be the one who actually comes to us.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you, Christoph. Thank you, Jochen. So I think the message is be bold, know your clients, know your product, come find with an answer, a solution, and don't fear, I think, the approach. You have to go, be bold, call them, get ready. I'm pretty sure you guys have calls of startups every day, and this is your job, and this is what you do, but this is how innovation happens, and we need to fluidify this conversation and the communication. Thank you very much for the panel. Thank you, everyone. Please, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for our panel. Thank you very much.